guys, it's me, Heather, and I wanted to just shoot a quick video for those of you who were not able to make one of our interest meetings for the mission trip to Cuba this year. Y'all, it's going to be amazing. So I just wanted to inform you guys, the ones who were not able to make the meeting, just of the basic details of this trip, and hopefully it's something that you feel like God's calling you to. Okay, so we are going to Cuba. The dates of the trip are June 27th to July 3rd, so it's almost a week, and it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. But first I wanted to give you a little bit of a history of how we've come to going to this Cuba trip. So we are part of a family of churches called Every Nation Ministries, which has a missions organization called 10 Days, which is what we've usually done trips through. However, you know our senior pastor, he is a dreamer, and he has been having visions and ideas of going to the Caribbean for many years now. Keith has been dreaming of going to Puerto Rico and Cuba and all these different places, and the doors have finally opened for us to be able to go to Cuba, and it's really, really, really exciting. So this is going to be our first trip just as High Point Church to go to Cuba. However, it's not going to be the first trip that the people there where we're going have welcomed people in. So don't be freaked out by that at all. But it's going to be literally a life-changing trip. So we're going to Cuba. Many of you may or may not know Scott Conover, a member of our church here. He actually works for the government, and he has unbelievable favor in Cuba right now. And so some of the just information about Cuba right now, because it is a communist country, one of the laws is that you literally cannot gather more than 25 people in one space at a time. But Scott has unbelievable favor, you guys, and has literally documents to legally be able to get more than 25 people together in a certain area. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen The Hunger Games, the movie The Hunger Games. It's kind of like that, where it's zoned out and you can't leave your zone. So, for example, we're in Ocoee here. If I wanted to go to Winter Garden, I literally could not go to Winter Garden. I have to stay in my zone. So there are people outside of Havana, Cuba, which is where we're going to be going, that literally have never heard the name of Jesus, like ever, because people cannot cross zones to get to them. Well, wouldn't you know, Scott has literally the paperwork so that we can legally go from zone to zone and take whoever we want with us. So you guys, God has gone before us on this trip. And just literally made the rough places smooth, just at the favor. It is unbelievable. Scott has a relationship with the pastor Eduardo, who's there. They are willing and able to welcome up to 100 people as missionaries. So where we're going to be going, it's a very comfortable place. There's so many things in my head that I want to tell you guys right now. It's a very comfortable place. He best describes it as a big house with a whole bunch of bunk beds. If you have a husband or a wife who's going, or even a teenager that's going, we do have rooms that can room a husband and wife couple. But it's going to be awesome, you guys. I've personally never been to Cuba. I've been on 8 mission trips before, though, and I can tell you it's just something that's going to rock your world. But anyway, so Scott has been there. He said it's very clean for a country that does not have a lot of money. Things like that. We will have our food provided for us. The churches that are there, the women there will literally be cooking around the clock. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to another country for food, but they don't do it like how Americans do it. It's like 5-course meal. Like, they feed you well. So we will be very well taken care of there as far as living arrangements. And back to the whole, you can't gather more than 25 people in one area. Since you can't do that, when they have outreaches and they have things going on, when a church gets to their 26th person, they literally have to go and start a new church. So you can imagine, maybe you're sitting there and you're a life group leader, or you attend a life group. Well, imagine your life group, or your church in this case, growing to 25 people and then growing to 26 people, and now all of a sudden you've got to start a new church. So Pastor Eduardo pastors over 75 house churches right now. And so what that looks like is now a life group leader becomes a lead pastor, and they need to be equipped. And you guys, there's just story after story after story of, they don't even have the whole Bible, Again, some people in some areas have never even heard the name of Jesus, let alone have a Bible, which, if I'm correct, I think that I'm right in saying this, but that you can't even like bring Bibles there. But Scott has just recently shipped 10,000 Bibles into Cuba. So one of the many, many, many stories and a couple of the many examples of how God has gone before us in this, and just the favor that we have to legally walk into Cuba and do things that people are not supposed to be able to do. But if you guys know, we serve a God of the impossible who literally makes impossible things possible. So we're doing this. Some of the logistics. So what we'll be actually doing on the trip, we are going to be mobilizing teams, and most of the places that we're going to go are going to be within walking distance, going into, and just going to be evangelizing, going and introducing ourselves, saying we're from America. When you go into a foreign country and you say that you're from America, you're basically an instant celebrity. And Scott said that they go and they stand on their front porch and literally yell to everybody, come here and listen. And the next thing you know, you're going to have 20 to 40 people. That's what he said, 20 to 40 people that will come and listen, and be looking at you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and wanting to hear what you're going to have to say. And so we're going to be sharing our faith. And don't let that freak you out. This, I think, part of going on a mission trip, actually a huge part of going on a mission trip, almost as important as the trip itself, is the process in learning how to handle yourself on a mission trip, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of those things. And there's a process that we're going to be doing that will train you and how to do those things. We're not just going to send you off to the wolves and have you not prepared. So we will prepare you. There will be many, many, many trainings. How you share your faith with somebody, how you start a conversation with somebody, how you talk about Jesus, how you talk about what Jesus has done in your life. And if you're sitting there listening to me right now and you're like, Heather, that really just freaks me out. Like, I don't even talk to the lady at Publix when she, like, the cashier who checks me out. Like, I don't even talk to her. How am I going to talk to 20 people? We will teach you. And the awesome thing is that God, a lot of times when God pushes us out of our comfort zone, that's when we grow. Okay, so we're going to teach you. We're going to equip you. Don't let any of that freak you out whatsoever. Guys, I'm just touching on bare minimum details here. We just had 2 meetings that were an hour long, and we didn't have enough time to talk about all this stuff. So I'm going to try to do it in 10 minutes. I have 2 more minutes. Okay, so the trip dates, June 27th to July 3rd. The trip dates. The cost of the trip is $1,000. And again, don't let that freak you out. We went on a mission trip to Baja last year, and it was about $1,800 for 5 days. $1,000 is nothing for a trip. And you might be sitting here saying, well, $1,000 might not be anything for a trip, but I don't have an extra $1,000. That's okay, because we are going to train you on how to raise that money. And when I say how to raise that money, I don't mean like we're going to just go and sell candy bars. We're going to teach you how to raise partnership. And this is a biblical truth, you guys. When we're called to go, we're not called to go by ourselves. The Bible is very clear that some people are meant to go and some people are called to send. And what you're going to be doing, what you guys are going to be doing, is giving people the opportunity to be involved in what God is doing in Cuba. And there's a perspective shift that happens when it changes from, I need you to give me money to go and do this, to, I don't want you to miss out on this flipping great opportunity to go and share the gospel with people around the world in Cuba. If you guys didn't know, there are 17 countries that are within a 2-hour plane flight of Florida. Insane. This is just the first trip of many that we're going to be doing in Cuba, and laying foundations and getting to the point where we're equipping the pastors there and how to run their churches. We have seminary level classes available to us through every nation that we can literally just take and hand to them and say, here you go, and equip them with things that they've just never even had. So the $1,000 is inclusive of everything that you will need. It is inclusive of your flight. It includes your flight, all of your food, all of your transportation. We do suggest that you bring a little bit of extra money just for spending, if anything else would come up, and also for your partners who are going to be sending you on the trip to bring them a little something back. So $1,000 includes everything. The next thing, and again, we're going to be training you guys how to do all of this, so don't let that freak you out. And speaking of training, this Sunday after the second service, at about 12:30, we'll be meeting back in Elevate to teach you how to do that. We have a very strict deadline of April 15th is when we need to know, like we need to know who's all going on the trip, which means by then you have to either have your financial partnership team raised by April 15th or know that you'll be able to provide the difference by the time that the trip comes. And that is because we need to have certain visas and things to be able to enter into Cuba, which we will also, this reminded me, we'll be taking our own private flight, chartered flight into Cuba. Which I think is really cool. So that is another thing. So don't let that freak you out. So the things you need to do from right now, if you feel like God is calling you on this trip, first of all, I want you to pray. I want you to make sure that this is where God is calling you to be. If you feel called, let me just tell you right now that you are going to have people around you, your family, your mom, your dad, aunts, uncles, neighbors telling you, oh my gosh, Cuba is so dangerous. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go. You shouldn't go. You shouldn't go. And if you look at spiritual warfare, that's how it works, you guys. But I want to tell you today that I have been on trips. I have much more dangerous places than Cuba, and I have never once felt unsafe. We will be with locals all the time. They do speak Spanish. We will have translators. Oh my gosh, there's so much to tell you. We will have translators, so don't worry about that. Do not let that be a barrier for you. But I want to just tell you right now, wherever God is calling you to go is the safest place for you to go. So first off, I want you to pray. Make sure God's calling you to go on this trip. Second off, ask off of work. I know I was in corporate America and for a good part of my life, and the sooner that you ask off for these things, a lot of times they're much more willing to do that. And you can ask them to partner with you, which we'll teach you on Sunday. And then third off, we need you to be at one of the 2 financial partnership training meetings. The first one is this Sunday after church, right after the second service in Elevate, and the second one is this coming Monday night, March 7th, from 7:30 till 8:30. If for some reason you're sitting there watching this right now and you want to go to Cuba and you cannot make either of those, please call me. Please text me. My phone number is 407-552-8554. Reach out to me so that we can get you going on this. It's very important that we kind of get this ball rolling so that we can give you guys the best opportunity to be able to go on this trip as possible. And I want to just wrap up with saying that this trip is going to change your life. This is one that as a church, we're going to look back in 5, 10, 20, 25 years and say that trip was the start of something. God is all in this thing. You guys, I've just touched on the bare minimum details, and it's going to be incredible. And if you're concerned about going on a mission trip, I would say just go. It will literally change your life, change your perspective. We put God in such a box here, and it's, oh my gosh, you guys, just go. Okay. Call me, text me if you have any questions, but we will see you guys on Sunday and Monday, and let's go Cuba. Yeah. Bye.